We are looking for horror TV series that are going to genuinely mess with your head. The kind of stuff that makes you realize you've been staring at a dark hallway for 45 seconds without blinking. If you love tracking down great horror television like I do, I've put together 6 series across different flavors of fear: psychological, supernatural, zombie, comedic horror, working our way up to the best of the bunch. Starting things off with Ash vs. Evil Dead, which is a comedy horror series created by Sam Raimi as a direct sequel to his Evil Dead films. And I want to be upfront that comedy horror is a tightrope walk that most productions fall off of badly. This one does not fall. The show revolves around Ash Williams, years after the events of Evil Dead, working a dead-end stock job and drinking his way through his mornings, until the Deadites come calling again, and he is once again the least qualified, most entertaining savior humanity could possibly have. What makes this work where other horror comedies fail is that it never apologizes for either half of the equation. The horror is genuinely gory, and the comedy is genuinely funny. And Bruce Campbell commits to this character with a kind of unhinged joy that you do not see often. The first season especially moves at a pace that barely gives you room to breathe between the laughs and the screaming. If your horror diet has been heavy and serious lately, Ash vs. Evil Dead is exactly the kind of palate cleanser that still delivers on the fear. It ran 3 seasons, and if you have never spent time with it, I think you are going to have a very good and very weird time.
그것이 권력이다.
Kingdom is a Korean historical zombie drama, and I realize that description sounds like a lot of things happening at once, but the show handles all of it with a control and a craftsmanship that a lot of Western productions could genuinely learn from. The story follows the Crown Prince of Joseon, who begins investigating a mysterious plague that is raising the dead while simultaneously uncovering a political conspiracy against the royal family. What sets Kingdom apart from practically every other entry in the zombie genre is that the human politics are just as dangerous as the undead. The show treats its historical setting with real weight. The costumes, the production design, the class dynamics, all of it feels considered and specific in a way that makes the horror land harder because you actually care about this world. 2 seasons, both tight, both relentless. There is no filler episode where nothing happens. If you have been avoiding this one because of subtitles, I would honestly push back on that instinct pretty hard because Kingdom is one of the best constructed genre shows of the last decade, regardless of language. Well written, beautifully shot, and genuinely tense from episode 1. Now, before we get to the top 4, I want to mention that I've been putting out these recommendation videos every single week for a while now, and if you have added anything to your watch list from this channel, it would mean a lot if you hit that subscribe button and threw a like on this video. It genuinely helps the channel keep going, and I want to be able to keep finding you good stuff. All right, back to the horror. Bates Motel is a psychological horror drama that does something genuinely difficult. It takes a character whose ending you already know, whose name is already synonymous with a specific kind of evil, and it makes you understand him. The show is a contemporary prequel to Psycho, following Norman Bates through his formative years and the deeply troubled relationship with his mother that shaped everything that came after. I want to be clear that this is not a cheap cash-in on Hitchcock's legacy. The writing takes Norman seriously as a human being first and a monster second. And that ordering is what makes it so unsettling. You will sympathize with him at points, and then you will feel genuinely uncomfortable that you did. Vera Farmiga as Norma Bates is one of the better television performances I can point to. Full stop. 5 seasons gives the show enough room to build slowly and deliberately toward an ending you already know is coming, and somehow the show still finds ways to gut punch you on the way there. If your horror preference runs more toward dread and psychological unease than jump scares and gore, Bates Motel is the one.
Witnesses describe dead or injured people apparently attacking one another.
Dead Set is a 5-episode BBC zombie miniseries written by Charlie Brooker. Yes, the same person who later created Black Mirror. And the concept is so specifically clever that it almost feels unfair to other zombie productions. A zombie apocalypse breaks out across Britain while a group of Big Brother housemates are locked inside the house with no idea what is happening outside. The show is partly a very sharp piece of media satire, and it earns every bit of the commentary it is making about reality television and isolation. But here's the thing. It does not lean on the clever premise as a crutch. The horror itself is legitimate. The dread is earned. And there is something uniquely effective about characters who willingly isolated themselves from the world, suddenly being forced to reckon with what that isolation actually means. It is inspired by Dawn of the Dead, and the siege horror DNA is very much present throughout. 5 tight episodes with no wasted time, which means it works perfectly as a single sitting. If you have an evening to burn and you want something that moves fast, makes you think a little, and scares you a fair amount, Dead Set is an extremely efficient use of your night.
Marianne is a French horror series from Netflix, 8 episodes, and it is genuinely one of the better horror productions I have seen on any streaming platform in recent years. The show follows Emma Larsimon, a successful horror novelist who returns to her rural coastal hometown after a childhood friend dies in front of her and discovers that the witch from her novels is not a fictional invention. She was never inventing anything. Something has been using her as a vessel for years, feeding her the stories, and the horrors she put on the page were instructions, not imagination. That premise alone is one of the more unsettling concepts I've encountered in the genre, because it operates on this second layer of psychological horror underneath all the traditional scares. It is a story about whether your own mind belongs to you, and that question stays with you after the credits roll. The show uses jump scares and traditional horror sound design effectively, but it earns them because the underlying dread is already doing serious work before any of that kicks in. Netflix canceled it after 1 season, which I think was a real mistake, because Marianne is smarter and more emotionally complex than most horror content you're going to find right now. The ending they give you is satisfying enough given the circumstances, but you will want more. My top pick is Santa Clarita Diet, a horror comedy from Netflix that I think is genuinely underappreciated even among people who have seen it. The show revolves around Joel and Sheila Hammond, a suburban real estate couple with a comfortable, unremarkable life, until Sheila becomes a zombie. Not a mindless, shambling zombie, a fully conscious, personality-enhanced, increasingly impulsive zombie with a serious appetite for human flesh. And Joel, played by Timothy Olsen, just tries to keep the marriage and the neighborhood intact. What makes Santa Clarita Diet work at such a high level is that it is fundamentally a show about a marriage, about what it actually means to love someone through dramatic, inconvenient, occasionally criminal change. And the horror comedy wrapping makes that theme land harder than a straight drama ever could. Drew Barrymore and Timothy Olsen have chemistry that makes the absurdity feel grounded, which is not an easy thing to pull off when the premise involves body disposal in the suburbs. It ran 3 seasons and was canceled by Netflix before it could finish its story, which remains one of the more frustrating streaming decisions of recent memory. If you want horror that is also genuinely funny, consistently warm, and surprisingly well written underneath all the blood, this is the one to start with tonight. That is the list. If you watch something from this list, or you have a horror series you think belongs in a video like this, drop it in the comments. Make sure you have hit subscribe if you want these recommendations every week, and thanks for watching all the way to the end. I genuinely appreciate it, and I will keep making these as long as you keep watching them.